Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Fiction Network. My son of Red Dog, bound to a super template at the beginning, Xia En traveled to the world of pirates and not only became the son of the great General Red Dog, but the system also gave him a super template. Super defense, which can become stronger as long as he basks in the sun. Coincidentally, he has a salty nature and doesn't like to fight and kill. Instead, he just sunbathed while relying on his father's salary to make ends meet. Unfortunately, the good times didn't last long. At the age of 16, Xia En was forcibly taken to the Navy headquarters by his father, Red Dog, to become a sailor. Ding! System new task. As a Shanghai Army General, you can unlock the second skill template. Xia En. Marine. I'm not interested, I want to be a general. The salary is high, and I can also sleep in the sun every day. Red Dog. Rebel son. You speak shamelessly. Is it possible for you to become a general if you want to? Xia En said, if you can defeat me, I won't be the general. Red Dog was furious and punched directly, causing everyone's jaws to drop in shock. Surprisingly, Shane was unharmed. Unlocking superpower, super flight and the super breath in the future Revolutionary Army. 7 Marshal Seas. 4 Emperors. You guys are ready together. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1, Major. Not enough. I want to be a general. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Naval Headquarters. Marin Fando. On the square, Crescent Bay Port. During the Warring States period, high-level officials such as Capp and Qingji rarely gathered at the port. This surprised and curious many passing generals such as major generals and generals. Hey. What happened? Why did the high-level officials gather together? I guess there's a big shot coming to the Navy headquarters. Is this battle, this row of noodles, the Tianlong people? Many generals nodded slightly upon hearing the words, and it is highly likely that the Tianlong people will come. As the highest nobles in the world, even naval commanders have to obey their orders. Who could have such a dish of noodles if they weren't from Tianlong? Just as the generals believed it to be the Tianlong people, a warship slowly arrived at the port through the Gate of Justice. Seeing the ladder of the warship fall, many generals and leaders stood up straight, looking up and preparing to welcome important guests. The Tianlong people are arrogant and domineering, and once neglected, the consequences are unimaginable. However, to the surprise of all the generals present, the first one that caught the eye was a young man about 10, 5, or 6 years old. The boy stood on the ladder, yawning and looking as if he had not woken up yet. Some of the stronger generals below can still see tears squeezed out of the corner of the boy's eyes. The generals looked at each other and stood up without hesitation for a moment. Is the young man from Tianlong? Most likely not, the Tianlong people have special attire and must be protected by CP agents around them. From all the above, it can be seen that the young man is definitely not a Tianlong person. Since the Tianlong people, who is this young man? What identity is it that brings together the top management? I don't know, I've never seen it before. Hey. Do you think this young man looks like a Red Dog general? When you say that, we really feel a bit like it's just this lazy temperament. I feel even more outrageous than General Qingji. On the warship, the young man yawned and seemed to realize that there were so many people on the scene only after learning later. He raised his eyebrows lightly and then greeted the navy below, saying, "Hi." Below, the sea soldiers looked at each other face to face. Is this young man too frivolous? Just then, a burly figure appeared behind the young man. He is the great General Red Dog. I saw Red Dog with a black face, raising his hand to the back of the young man's head and giving him a teasing tone. Rebel son. Be normal, don't embarrass your father and me. Nego. Below, the generals were surprised and suddenly came over. Originally, the young man in front of me was the son of the great General Red Dog. The general also understood the reasons for the high-level gathering. Firstly, to give face to the strongest contemporary general, Red Dog. Secondly, to be curious about the descendants of powerful individuals like Red Dog. The first impression that Red Dog's son gives people is actually, if it weren't for General Red Dog speaking up, I wouldn't have believed this was a descendant of General Red Dog even if he were killed. Indeed. My personality is completely different from that of a Red Dog general. And it doesn't seem to have any strength at all, and it looks like it's just a carefree act. Compared to other high-level descendants or apprentices, the gap is too big. All aspects are definitely at the bottom. Ahead. During the Warring States period, high-level officials such as Capp also scrutinized the descendants of the Red Dog. Originally, everyone was full of expectations for the offspring of the Red Dog. Where will the offspring educated by this powerful and self-disciplined individual fall short? However, upon seeing the descendants of the Red Dog, everyone was filled with disappointment. Even if it's ordinary, it's okay. His words and actions are still so frivolous and lazy. Oh, this kid has been protected so well by Sakaski. The yellow ape pouted and murmured. During the Warring States period, Capp and others nodded slightly in agreement with the words of the yellow ape. It's hard to imagine that Sakaski was so strict that he could educate children with such personalities. He stood with his hand and pondered for a few seconds before speaking. I finally understand why Sakaski suddenly wanted his child to join the army. Most likely, it's just to change his child's personality. Everyone around nodded slightly again, thinking it was like this. As a general, Red Dog is usually busy with official duties and actually has little time to educate his children. Joining the military is the best way to change a child's lazy personality. Quickly, Red Dog brought the young man to the front of the Warring States and others. The Warring States period and others stopped talking and instead greeted the descendants of the Red Dog with a smile. What's your name? Capp asked curiously. Xia En. Xia En said weakly. He doesn't even want to join the army, he just wants to make a salted fish at home. After all, the world of pirates is too dangerous, joining the army means you could die at any time. Xia En is a traveler who accidentally falls off the stairs while helping his family collect rent. He opens his eyes and enters the world of pirates. At first, Xia En was frightened and fearful. The world of pirates was extremely dangerous, and she crossed over to become a 16-year-old child. Is this the rhythm of dying young? Fortunately, Shane quickly activated his golden finger. Super template and unlocked one of its super defense attributes. What pleased Sean the most was that improving the super defense attribute was very simple, and he only needed to sunbathe every day to improve it on his own. Years of rent collection life have made Xia En's personality inherently salty, and the way she improves her golden fingers undoubtedly fits her personality. Except for the golden finger, Sean, who had fused his memories, discovered that his father was actually the strongest contemporary naval general, Red Dog. With the double assurance of golden finger and a strong father, Shane no longer has any worries. In the following time, Xia En would bask in the sun every day and then rely on his father's Red Dog's salary to make ends meet. Until a few days ago, the super defense attribute had reached its peak. However, since he had never made a move before, Xia En didn't know how strong he was, but his intuition told him that he was very strong now. Unfortunately, the calm was disrupted, and after Red Dog took the time to visit Shane, he immediately pulled Shane to the Navy headquarters. So there's the opening scene. Soon, the Warring States period interrupted Xia En's thoughts and he only heard him say to the Red Dog. Sakaski, how do you plan to arrange it? Red Dog glanced at Xia En and said with no good words, just let him start from the grassroots level. Xia En pouted calmly, intending to refuse and apply to the logistics department. However, at this moment, the sound of the system in my mind rang out. Task. When a Shanghai general can unlock new attributes. Xia En raised her eyebrows slightly. Good guy. Activating the new, super, attribute was originally a task. Tell me earlier, it caused me to study for so long before. After hearing this, the Warring States period nodded clearly. Since Red Dog brought his own child to join the army, it was to change this kid's mediocrity. It is undoubtedly the best choice for him to start from the grassroots level. However, Red Dog is also the strongest general of our time. After a pause in the Warring States period, he said, let's arrange a major for Xia En. It can also be considered grassroots. The Warring States period planned to give Red Dog some face. However, before Red Dog could speak, Xia En interjected first. Major. Marshal, this position is not enough. I want to be a general. Seeking flowers, seeking evaluation, seeking collection. Chapter 2. You attack casually. I'll lose if I get hurt. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As soon as Xia En's words were spoken, everyone was stunned. The next second, the whole audience burst into laughter. Is my ear not good? Does this little guy say he wants to become a general? Haha, that's right. He did say he wanted to become a general. I can only say, childlike innocence. Not to mention, this is quite the demeanor of a Red Dog general. On his first day, he threatened to become a general. Having dreams is not wrong, but aiming too high is not good. Some generals just treat it as fun, but some generals just go online. I just didn't say anything because I saw General Red Dog present. When many people heard that the Warring States period was about to confer the title of Major Xia En, they felt a sense of unease. Why? Why give this little ghost the title of Major, who lacks strength, momentum, and is still slacking off? Because he is a descendant of the Red Dog. Are you joking? They are working hard every day to improve their own strength, and many of them still don't even have titles. I am much stronger than the son of Red Dog. After hearing Xia En say, the major is not enough, I want to become a general, these people sneered in their hearts. To be honest, they felt that if it weren't for Xia En being a descendant of the Red Dog general, this carefree appearance would not even qualify for joining the Navy. Do you still want to be a general? Do you really think that if your father is a great general, he can be reckless in the military? Ahead. During the Warring States period, Capp, he and others were made to laugh and cry by Xia En's words. The yellow ape let out a yo and said lightly, you said you wanted to become a general even earlier than your father. Qingji yawned and said in a deep voice, yeah. This kind of thing is not suitable for joking. Capp chuckled and said, little ghost has a dream, that's great. He thought of his grandson, who kept saying, I want to become the man of the Pirate King, every day. Besides Xia En, the Red Dog looked speechless. How could I have given birth to such a son myself? What does it look like to be lazy at home? Don't you have any points? It was precisely because of this that when he took the time to go home, he couldn't help but vent his anger and forcefully dragged Xia En to join the army. However, even if Xia En works hard to cultivate at home, being a general is not something that he, as a little ghost, can easily become. Red Dog raised his hand and slapped Shane on the back of the head, coldly saying, shut up. You can eat randomly, but you can't talk nonsense. The Warring States period and others laughed heartily. Children, it's normal to speak recklessly without understanding. Don't keep hitting people in the back of the head every day. As a woman, he takes great care of children. Everyone is joking like children. Red Dog remained calm, and he had no intention of giving it to Major Shane. Otherwise, there will definitely be many soldiers who are dissatisfied. This is not good for Xia En's future development in the military. The descendants of other high-level officials, such as the granddaughter of the Crane, Peacock, and KB, are also basically fighting from the grassroots level. These people have gained recognition from many soldiers for their hard work to this day. Red Dog believes that this is beneficial for Shane's development. Thinking of this, Red Dog intends to refuse the position of Major arranged by the Warring States period. However, before he could speak, Shane spoke again. Xia En yawned heavily and then slammed his mouth before speaking. I'm not joking. I really want to be a general. During the Warring States period, Kapu and others looked at each other with raised eyebrows. Why is the child of Red Dog so stubborn and disobedient? Shane. General needs absolute strength, do you have it? Don't even talk about being a general, just like how lazy you are at home on weekdays, any soldier present can make you cry and cry. Red Dog on the side really got angry, his tone tinged with anger. This is in the military, not a place for you little brat to play around. Facing his angry and cheap father, Xia En showed no fear at all. Stretching lazily, ignoring his cheap father, he shook and leisurely scanned the surroundings, lazily saying, "Since the general needs strength, then I will show my strength. Anyone present can launch an attack on me. If I suffer any injuries, even skin injuries, it counts as a loss. On the contrary, Marshal, give me a great general." When Xia En said this, he looked at the Warring States period. Xia En's words confused all the naval personnel present. Each expression began to become strange. This kid is really being protected by Red Dog a bit too much. A complete giant baby. Once speaking rudely, everyone still thought it was a child who didn't understand. But repeatedly speaking impolitely, that's it. Do you really think that your father is a great general, and no one here dares to harm you? Red Dog felt the dissatisfaction of many naval generals in the four directions towards Shane's behavior, and felt restless in his heart. My own son has just arrived at the headquarters of the Navy and has caused me such a big face. Red Dog now wishes to teach Shane a lesson. You don't need anyone else to take action, just take it as a lesson. I saw Red Dog with a stern face and couldn't help but say, Xia En, I'll teach you another lesson today. When going out, be low-key in everything and not too flamboyant. Besides, you don't have the capital to show off yet. After speaking, Red Dog lifted his leg and kicked it precisely in Shane's abdomen. With a muffled bang, Xia En flew out upside down and landed heavily on the ground with his back. During the Warring States period, high-level officials such as Kapu, Yellow Ape, and Green Pheasant exchanged a glance and remained speechless for a moment. I have to say, Red Dog is really fierce. He is so heavy on his own children. However, the Warring States period and others can also understand the intention of the Red Dog. Xia En's recent actions made many soldiers on the scene unhappy about him. The Red Dog's kick can help many people eliminate their grievances. Sure enough, the generals around me have eased a lot, and I feel comfortable inside. Even many soldiers sympathized with Xia En. Are you afraid that Red Dog's kick will break a few ribs of Shane? It looks like it hurts. I have to say, General Red Dog is really ruthless. He's so cruel to his own son. Even if the bones are not broken, it is highly likely that they will need to lie in the medical room for a few days. But just as people were thinking so, Shane suddenly stood up. As he stood up, he complained, Father, if you take action, can you say it in advance? I was startled. Xia En was speechless in his heart. Although his absolute defense attribute in his super template reached its full level, other attributes were not unlocked. My cheap dad suddenly kicked, and I couldn't react at all. The surrounding generals looked at Xia En, who had stood up again, and were all stunned, feeling surprised in their hearts. How could this kid still stand up? It looks like there's nothing at all. What's going on? Is it intentionally showing off? Or is it that just now, General Red Dog's foot seemed to be forceful, but in reality, it didn't have much force. At this moment, the tea pufferfish in the crowd couldn't breathe well and said, "How could it be without strength?" The tea pufferfish is known as a reserve general, and its strength is naturally not weak. So he could see clearly that General Red Dog's kick was solid. Even veteran soldiers who have been in the military for several years have to lie down for a long time without leaving any hands behind. Now that Xia En stands up with no one involved, it indicates that Xia En indeed has something. Is Chapter 3 qualified? Not enough to go together. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tea pufferfish is a major general candidate among generals and holds significant weight in the military. His words surprised everyone present. That is to say, General Red Dog did not spare any effort. Xia En is not as bad as she imagined. This performance, in terms of resistance to beating, may surpass many veterans. To be honest, I still feel a bit skeptical. After all, Xia En's casual posture just now shows no sign of this guy's abilities. Ahead. During the Warring States period, there were also some surprises among the senior naval officials such as Capp. As strong players, they naturally understand that Red Dog's just kick was done with real strength. The yellow ape let out a yo sound and said, "Tsk tisk, Sakaski's son still has something." The green pheasant nodded slightly and said, "I've also looked around. Now that I see it, it's not that bad." During the Warring States period, both veteran generals, Capp, were equally surprised. It seems that Xia En still practices on a regular basis. That's right. Anyway, he's also the son of Red Dog. However, Red Dog's accident was deeper than others. My heart was filled with disbelief. How could Xia En have such defensive power? As Shane's father, Red Dog knows his son very well. He has never practiced at all, let alone practiced. Even if he was asked to move, he wouldn't bother to move. Lying on the beach all day sunbathing at this moment, Shane had returned to the Red Dog, and when he saw the Red Dog looking at him, he spoke. "Father, to save time, you can just give it your all." After a pause, Sean scratched his head and said, "There's no problem using the devil fruit ability." "Is there no problem using the devil fruit ability?" "I'll go." "Little Ghost, are you clear that your father's devil fruit ability is the most destructive in the military?" In the Sea Army, some people couldn't help but shout loudly. Upon hearing these words, Xia En turned her head and casually said, "At least it's also my father." "I naturally know." "Then you." Xia En interrupted directly, "I'm not afraid because I want to be a general." Xia En's words directly silenced the whole audience, and everyone looked at each other. This kid is too pretending, right? Indeed. Xia En's recent performance shows that he has some strength. But it's too exaggerated to make Red Dog use its fruit power. It can be said that I am too proud. Red Dogs are also speechless to the extreme in their hearts. He gritted his teeth, if it weren't for Shane being his own son. Red Dog will definitely hit Dark Dog directly on Xia En's face without saying a word. After thinking for a while, Red Dog decided to give Shane a lesson. Otherwise, this kid is too ignorant. The Red Dog slightly raised its chin and couldn't breathe well. "Are you ready this time?" Shane smiled brightly and nodded his head. Red Dog squinted its eyes and pondered for 2 seconds before saying in a deep voice, "Xia En, your body will be severely burned. Don't blame me or you." In fact, Red Dog is also curious about where his son's bottom lies. Just give it a try. Without further ado, a crimson hue instantly appeared on the Red Dog's arm. At the moment the magma appeared, the scorching heat became the main melody. The high temperature also distorts the air. Seeing this scene, many soldiers around were stunned, their hearts jumping wildly. "I'll go." Is General Red Dog serious? Once Shane cannot resist, he will die. Are you not afraid of the future? During the Warring States period, high-level officials such as Capp were also startled. Sakaski, the child is mischievous. Are you a father? The crane stopped him. Almost done. Capp nodded slightly and agreed, even if you're an old man, be careful with a punch that uses the devil fruit ability. Xia En is still a little kid, it won't be good if something happens later. No one present felt that Shane could withstand a punch from Red Dog using the devil fruit ability. This is known as the most destructive demon fruit in the military. However, Shane saw his father using the devil fruit power. Not only did he have no fear, but his eyes turned into starry eyes, looking very curious. Surrounded by the Warring States period, Capp and others suddenly became speechless. Is this considered as the emperor not in a hurry or the eunuch in a hurry? Xia En ignored the crowd around him, and after experiencing the novelty of superpowers for the first time, he regained his composure. Then he waved to the Red Dog and said, "Father, I'm ready." Red Dog raised his eyebrows and then said, "Then I won't be polite." The reason why Red Dog dares to use the devil fruit ability to attack his son is that he has a sense of propriety in his heart. If Shane cannot resist, he will instantly stop and restrain the devil fruit ability. At most, Xia En is only partially burned and will not endanger his life. This kind of development is also a good thing for Red Dog, as it can teach Shane a lesson. Perhaps we can change his current personality, or else we can use the personality he has shown today. When faced with the enemy, I don't even know how to die. Injury is better than death. While thinking about these, the Red Dog's magma fist carrying the heat wave had already exhaled. Many generals around held their breath when they saw this scene. Seems to have seen Shane's next tragic situation. During the Warring States period, although high-level officials like Capp felt it was inappropriate, since Red Dog chose to take action, they couldn't say anything more. And they also believe in the strength of Red Dog. Developing devil fruit for so long, Red Dog should have a sense of propriety. The magma fist carried the heat wave and smashed towards Shane's abdomen. Red Dog is focused to the extreme, and once there is any problem, he will instantly withdraw his fist and retrieve the demon fruit ability. However, the next second, the magma fist solidly pounded onto Shane's abdomen. Until then, the Red Dog did not feel that Sean was not capable. On the contrary, he felt as if he had hit the indestructible iron wall. The high temperature of the magma kept burning Xia En's abdomen, but it was powerless and had no effect at all. Red Dog suddenly looked up, incredulously looking at Xia En with a calm and relaxed expression. Is this still my own son whom I know? Everyone around was also stunned by this scene. Silence. The whole room fell into silence. Only Xia En's brilliant smile reached its peak, and he looked at Red Dog and said, "Father, am I now qualified to become a general?" But the response to Shane was not words, but rather Red Dog's violent drinking. Dark Dog. This is one of the most destructive moves of the Red Dog, with extremely strong explosive power. In the original work, Red Dog used this move to smash half of Whitebeard's head. The terrifying magma gushes out like an unstoppable roaring beast. The heat wave is even stronger, and the magma is even more surging. Everyone around felt a sense of fear in their hearts. But the terrifying impact of Red Dog's explosive power was still blocked by Xia En. Under the crimson reflection, Xia En's face remained calm and gentle. I only heard Shane smile brightly again and say, "Is it enough, capital? If it's not enough, the rest of you can also join." Chapter 4. Dominance over everything. Are you sure? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Thunderbolt from the blue. At this moment, everyone present felt like they were thunderstruck and frozen in place. Oh my goodness! What did I see? Has General Red Dog's Dark Dog also been blocked? Are you joking? Are you sure that General Red Dog did not release water? Even if General Red Dog releases water, you can go up and try it. No one says a word. Indeed. Even if water is released, the actual high temperature of the magma is enough to melt everything. Now General Red Dog's magma is still in contact with Xia En. I saw, crimson, constantly burning Xia En's abdomen. Xia En's clothes turned into ashes in the high temperature, but his body did not suffer any harm. Red wanted to go further and enter Xia En's body, but ultimately all flowed on the ground. Let the earth emit a mournful cry. Is this still the carefree and unassuming Xia En they just remembered, without any strength or momentum? I don't know if I don't show it, but when I show it, I'm scared. It can be said that it was a stunning achievement. Okay. What a terrifying defense. The crane's voice became sharp. Until this moment, high-level officials such as the Warring States period, Capp, and Qingji finally recovered from the shock of the previous scene. It's really terrifying. The yellow ape's expression didn't even calm down, and a cold sweat broke out on his forehead. This is not just about terror. Capp's face changed dramatically, filled with disbelief and deep confusion. Sakaski, is your son a monster? He didn't even use his dominance. Capp almost roared. This statement made everyone realize it later, and in an instant, everyone present was once again deeply shocked. Lying down. We actually overlooked this point, said the Warring States period with a loss of composure. Xia En, this kid has resisted magma with his physical strength alone. Are you joking? Qingji's face became lifeless and he widened his eyes. I'm afraid even Mr. Capp cannot achieve this. Yellow ape added a hint of surprise to his expression. Is this physique enough to benchmark against the strongest creature physique of the Beast Kai duo? The senior management fell silent one after another. They all feel that it's too much and too little. Sakaski, what's the situation with your kid? Capp couldn't help but ask Red Dog. Eyes were fixed on Red Dog, eager to know the answer. How is this cultivated? Or did you eat a special demon fruit? The Red Dog faced a series of eager gazes, feeling speechless in its heart. Ask me for the answer. I don't know the answer myself. I am no less surprised than you. However, due to face-saving reasons, Red Dog did not answer in this way. If I don't know either, doesn't it reflect that my father is very incompetent? So Red Dog pretended to be calm, coughed dry, and looked at Xia En in a deep voice, saying, Xia En, tell others yourself how you can withstand my attack. Eyes suddenly shifted from Red Dog to Shane. Xia En faced each gaze calmly and yawned, saying, It's very simple. I just bask in the sun every day, and my defense naturally improves like this. The whole room remained silent, speechless, and the eyes of the whole room became resentful one after another. Nemas. The children of the Red Dog General are really annoying. From my first impression to my current performance, I have never been likable. Why don't you use this excuse to deceive us if you don't want to say it? Do you really consider us fools? Can sunbathing enhance defense? Isn't it that the whole world is a powerhouse? Xia En also saw the silence in his gaze towards him, and he suddenly felt very aggrieved. What I said is true. There's no fake at all. Even if it's just sunbathing, your absolute defense has reached the top level. Forget it. The joys and sorrows between people cannot be the same. Xia En was too lazy to continue explaining and looked at her father, as well as the humanitarian figures from the Warring States period. How to say it? Do you also want to give it a try? During the Warring States period, although Capp and others were speechless about the answer, that Xia En became stronger after sunbathing. However, there was no further inquiry. It is obvious that Shane does not want to tell himself and others the true answer. Anyway. Everyone has their own secrets, or rather their trump cards. There is no need to investigate this matter to the end, as long as we know that Shane is currently under the Navy. No longer dwell on this point, everyone is interested in Shane's strength. Previously, Xia En's first impression on everyone was not very good, but now no one is looking down on Xia En anymore. Even though Shane may seem lazy and carefree, resisting the red dog's dark dog is enough to explain everything. It would be impolite to belittle him. Yo, the yellow ape lifted his toed glasses and said, Xia En, let Uncle Me come and meet you. See how scary you really are. Xia En gritted her teeth and said, to save time, why don't you all go together? The response to Xia En was a dazzling golden light. Oh Xia En kid, you really look down on Uncle Me. Have you ever been kicked by the speed of light? In the blink of an eye, the yellow ape had already arrived in front of Shane. At the same time, the long legs of the yellow ape had been lifted and landed on Shane's face. The speed directly dragged out the golden tail flame. Xia En's face was covered in golden light, dazzling and unable to open her eyes. With the golden light falling, a terrifying force poured out on Shane's face. Speed is both strength. Xia En was thrown upside down by this tremendous force and fell heavily to the ground. The earth suddenly cracked and sank into a huge deep pit. Many people around were shocked. The attack of the yellow ape gives people a feeling that its power is much more terrifying than the attack of the red dog. Is Shane still alive? Eyes converge in the dusty pit. In the pit, Xia En touched his nose. I'll go. I was startled again. The speed of the yellow ape made Shane completely unable to see clearly. However, the top level attribute of absolute defense in super appearance kept Xia En unharmed. Speaking of which, the strength of the yellow ape is not inferior to that of the red dog, especially when combined with the speed of the sparkling fruit. The explosive power is even more terrifying than that of the red dog. Outside world. Others don't know about Xia En's life and death, but strong individuals like the yellow ape and the green pheasant can feel it. Oh, it's really scary. It looks like there's no harm at all. The yellow ape sighed inwardly. Xia En's defense is really terrifying. At this moment, the green pheasant walked out and said, let me give it a try. However, it was blocked by Capp. Kapu rubbed his fists and said to Qingji, go aside, Kazan. Your abilities don't have much power. Let me try my iron fist. As he spoke, Capuet lifted his chin and said, you know, dominance is above all else. Chapter 5. Monsters that even Capp cannot shake. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Qingji actually wants to say. His dominance is not weak either. After all, Master Kapu. But seeing Kapu's eager appearance, Qingji simply gave up. Anyway. Let Mr. Capp come. How to say that Capp's domineering presence can be considered a ceiling-level presence in the military. If even he can't do it, others don't need to try using dominance. The generals exclaimed in shock all around. There is still no injury at all. It's really a monster. Among the descendants and apprentices of the higher-ups, Xia En should be ranked first now, right? What is it called, right? The first thing that's safe is good. No. The descendants and apprentices of other high-level officials are no longer qualified to compete with Shane. Xia En is currently benchmarking against. I am already at the level of a general. In the direction of everyone's gaze, Xia En walked out of the pit. The clothes on her body were already in a state of disrepair, and the dust all over her made Shane look extremely disheveled. However, Shane's body had no injuries at all. Kapu gritted his teeth and said, Shane, your performance surprised us. Even if you cannot withstand the old man's fist from now on, you are still the strongest among the younger generation. After hearing this, Xia En sneered and didn't rush to answer. Instead, he patted the dust off his body before speaking. Lieutenant General Kapu, I have no interest in the younger generation being the strongest. What interests me is to resist your punch and become a naval general. After hearing these words, Kapu immediately burst out laughing. Little devil. I'm really curious. How did you manage to say such bold words on a casual face? The most crucial thing is that I didn't feel any discord. For this question, Shane doesn't know how to answer either. I had to shrug my shoulders in response to Capp's words. Capp didn't mind either. He raised his eyebrows and gritted his teeth with a smile. Xia En, little ghost. I won't show mercy. If you get hurt, you can't blame me. At the same time as speaking, Capp's whole body erupted in momentum. In an instant, a strong momentum surged out of his body, and Capp's entire temperament changed. He stood there, like a towering mountain. Accompanied by flickering black thunder all around me. Not only that, Capp's fists seemed to have been stained with ink, becoming pitch black. Many people around were swallowing saliva. The majestic presence of the ruler over the world. Is this the former naval hero? How terrifying. Everyone is looking at Shane. Under the momentum of Kapu, Xia En is like a small boat in a storm, which can be overturned at any time. Are you ready? Sean, little ghost. Kaplan said in a voice. Shane nodded slightly, just hooked his finger, indicating that Capp should come over. Little devil. You're really not likable. After Kapu finished speaking, his eyes suddenly changed, shrouded in endless dominance. Immediately, he leaped up, and the ground beneath his feet was immediately cracked by his footsteps. The Milky Way. Above Capp's fist in mid-air, a black thunderbolt exploded. Many generals around were taking a deep breath. Strong. Too strong. Many new recruits were even more shocked than ever. Although Capp, a veteran player, has made many moves in recent years, he is still the first to see him make a full move today. Like a god of war. Are these the veterans of the old era? The power unleashed by Capp intimidated the entire audience. Many people couldn't help but look at Shane, in contrast to Capp. Shane is like an egg, while Kapu is a giant mountain. Don't you run. Everyone thinks Shane should have run, otherwise he would have died. Running now, it's probably too late. Hold your breath. In mid-air, Capp's fist slammed heavily and said, fist bones. At this moment, everyone felt that it was not a fist, but a terrifying meteorite. The meteorite fell and headed straight for Shane. Bang! The two sides made contact, and a loud explosion echoed from all directions. The power unleashed by this punch caused a hurricane, and many weaker sailors were blown back in a row. Xia En's location suddenly turned into ruins, with thick smoke rising everywhere. When everything calmed down, everyone suddenly looked up and couldn't wait to know the outcome. Is the Red Dog General about to become extinct? The first thing that caught everyone's eye was a huge pit, and upon seeing it, many people took a deep breath. General Kapu's punch was so terrifying. However, when the public saw the scene under the huge pit, they exclaimed in amazement. Stop it, stop it. A punch with such terrifying power withstood it. This. The strongest defense in the military. At the bottom of the pit, Capp's fist was pressed against Shane's abdomen. But Xia En still stood proudly, with no other changes on his body except for his tattered clothes. Still unscathed. Kapu looked at Shane in shock, so shocked that he couldn't speak. He instinctively withdrew his fist, then looked down at his own fist and fell into deep contemplation. Kapu doubts life. Above. The crane slowly exhaled a breath, trying to calm the shock in its heart. However, the shock wave cannot be calmed. He couldn't help but look at the Red Dog and say, Sakaski, how did you teach your son to practice? Yellow apes, green pheasants, and others all looked at Red Dog, and they all wanted to know. If it could be taught to one's own descendants or apprentices, that would be great. Red Dog is not doing well again. He really doesn't know. Previously, Xia En was by his side and he was able to push the problem onto his own son. Shane is not by his side now. With a dry cough, the red dog stuttered a bit and said, "Get more sun exposure." Xia En does sunbathe on the beach every day, as for his cultivation. Red dogs have never seen it before. Crane, dot. Yellow ape. Dot. Chingy. Dot. Sakaski, if you don't want to say it, just say it's a secret. Why use such absurd excuses to deceive us? The crane couldn't help but say. Don't imitate your son's dishonest appearance. Red Dog is not doing well again. What does it mean to learn from Xia En? Do I learn from my own child? How awkward it is to hear this. Chapter 6 Gellinger. Red Dog's son. I want to become a general. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. At this moment, Shane and Capp walked out of the pit. Eyes converged on Xia En one after another. No Navy present dared to think that Shane was weak. Everyone was impressed by the young man's talent. Defeating the attacks of 3 top military powerhouses is enough to convince everyone faced with the various gazes of the people around her. Xia En did not pay too much attention. He just wants to quickly complete the task and unlock the new super attribute. Quickly, Xia En approached the Warring States period and looked at it calmly, saying, "Marshal, am I qualified? If it's not enough, you can also come in person." With these attempts, Xia En has also gained a certain understanding of his top level, super defense. The top level has definitely reached the level of the 4 emperors during the Warring States period. He waved his hands repeatedly and said with a smile on his face, "That's enough. There is no need to continue trying." After speaking, the Warring States period exclaimed in unison. He looked at Shane as if he was looking at a rare treasure. I didn't expect that Red Dog's son's strength would be so demonic. The key is that he is only 16 years old now, so young. How will he grow up in the future? The Warring States believe that, without any unforeseen circumstances, Xia En could definitely grow into a top scorer who could intimidate the entire ocean. The god of war in the Navy. Xia En had no idea what the Warring States was thinking. He also ignored these things. Since the Warring States period said it was not necessary to continue trying, he spoke up. "Marshal, give me the title of general now." Xia En said leisurely. "I also don't know what other attributes I will unlock in the big super template." Xia En hopes for flying ability, because flying is every man's dream. This is natural, but it still needs to be approved by Wulaoxing. The Warring States patiently explained to Xia En specifically, the position of Grand General cannot be unilaterally appointed by a naval marshal. It still needs to go through the assessment and approval of Wulaoxing. After all, the general is not only a matter of the appearance of the Navy, but also related to the credibility of the world government. Upon hearing this, Xia En raised his eyebrows. Originally, he thought he could immediately unlock new attributes. Sure enough, ideals are abundant, and reality is backbone. Seeing Xia En frowning, the Warring States feared that Xia En would find it troublesome and would not join the Navy later. He quickly made a promise and said, "Xia En, you can rest assured that with the strength you have demonstrated today, there will definitely be no problem on the side of the 5 old stars." As the Warring States period put it firmly, he would not spare Xia En, a talented and brilliant demon in the future. Xia En was not affected much and said bluntly, "Marshal, when will we go meet the 5 old stars?" The Warring States period chuckled and said, "Now." With a lang smile, the Warring States period set out and said, "I'm going to apply for an emergency meeting with the 5 old stars. Holy Land Maria." The journey from the headquarters of the Navy to the Maria is not far, and soon a group of high-level naval personnel will arrive. Between rights. The Warring States period brought a group of naval high-ranking officials, including Sean and Kapu, into the interior. The 5 elders of the 5 Elders Star have been waiting for a long time. Apart from the 5 Elders Star, there is also the commander of the Knights of God. Seeing Gellinger, the red dog remained calm and frowned slightly. He had some unpleasant things with this guy before soon, the Warring States period and others arrived at the 5 old stars and others. Among them, the God of Technology Defense, sitting in the center of the Satan, was the first to speak up. Warring States, what happened when we suddenly applied for a meeting this time? The other 5 old stars were all solemnly watching the Navy. The Warring States period not only urgently applied for a meeting, but also brought most of the senior officials in the military, fearing that an extreme situation would occur. Report to all the elders. The Warring States took a few steps forward, then bowed slightly and spoke. The reason for urgently applying to meet with the elders is because there is a strong enough general in the military. After hearing these words, the 5 old stars exchanged a glance at each other, and their faces showed signs of surprise and interest. The appearance of a strong general in the military is a good thing for both the Navy and the world government. What about the strong one? Elder Nashowling asked directly. Other elders also carried curiosity and anticipation. During the Warring States period, he didn't talk nonsense and turned his head and said, Xia En, come out and meet the elders of the 5 elder star. As the words fell, the 5 old stars saw a young man walking out from behind the Navy. After arriving by the side of the Warring States period, the young man raised his hand and let out a yo to the 5 old stars, playing a move. Seeing Xia En appear, the expressions of the 5 old stars and Gellinger and others were as peculiar as they could be, and they all frowned. What situation is this? Is this little ghost what the Warring States call a strong person? Don't joke anymore. Elder Moss spoke with impatience and asked the Warring States, what do you mean by this? On the other side, Elder Satan's tone was filled with impatience and anger. We rarely find time to come out. Is it for us to see you go crazy? Gellinger, sitting on the single sofa beside him, crossed his legs and sneered incessantly. I'm afraid this little ghost's hair hasn't even grown properly, right? Neither the 5 old stars nor Gellinger believes that a little ghost has the ability to be competent as a general. Faced with questioning, the Warring States period had already anticipated it, and he said in a deep voice, Elders and commanders, I am not joking. Despite Xia En's young age, his strength and talent are both at the level of demons. After a pause, the Warring States organization spoke for a while and told the 5 old stars and Gellinger about Shane's defense against the attacks of the Red Dog, Yellow Ape, and Capp during his time at the headquarters. In the end, the voice of the Warring States period was raised, and he said loudly, Xia En faced the attacks of 3 top powerhouses and did not suffer any damage. As soon as these words were spoken, the hearts of the 5 old stars moved slightly, and a surprised expression appeared on their faces. Is it really fake? Does this little ghost resist the attacks of 3 top powerhouses? If it weren't for the 5 old stars understanding the Warring States period and understanding the personality of this naval marshal, they would never have lied to them. They all thought this was a big joke. 5 old stars and Gellinger both looked deeply at Xia En. The Warring States period continued, Elders, Xia En is not only powerful. Secondly, there is no problem with the background, as he is Sakaski's son. Sakaski's son. The 5 old stars were surprised and instinctively looked at the Red Dog. Facing the gaze of the 5 old stars, Red Dog slightly straightened its back and then reported. Elders, Xia En is indeed my son. Speaking these words, Red Dog felt immensely proud in his heart. The 5 old stars looked at each other and fell into contemplation. This little ghost is Sakaski's son, and there is indeed no problem with his background. The only thing now is to confirm whether this little ghost really has the ability to be a competent general as claimed by the Warring States period. At this moment, Gellinger, sitting on the single sofa, stood up and looked at the Navy. He paused on Red Dog for 2 seconds before finally looking at Warring States and said. Warring States period, these are just your one-sided words. I will personally verify whether this kid really has the strength you mentioned. I will strike a blow. If I can withstand this blow, then this little ghost can serve as a general." The Red Dog frowned. "This guy doesn't deal with me, and now that I know Xia En is my own descendant, it's definitely not a good thing to plan to take action." He planned to say something, but Shane had already responded, "No problem." After speaking, Shane slowly walked out of the crowd. Gellinger found it interesting to see this, and he looked up slightly and said, "Kid, you have admirable courage. I hope you can still maintain this courage later." Gellinger stepped forward and came to Shane's side. Then he slowly pulled out the sword from his waist, accompanied by the sound of iron objects rubbing against him. At the moment when the sword was unsheathed, its aura was rampant and overwhelming. Chapter 7. Obtain New Attribute. Superpower. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The entire hall is filled with Gellinger's towering sword spirit. Undoubtedly the absolute king. Gellinger looked at Shane's unchanged expression and was quite surprised in his heart. Is this kid not afraid of emotions? Or is it because of ignorance that one becomes too arrogant? Anyway. Regardless of the situation, Gellinger didn't care. He believed that his knife would shatter Shane's confidence. Gellinger drew his long sword towards his waist and made a living in harmony posture. With Gellinger's accumulation of strength, the knife intent in the main hall became so strong that it became sticky. Everyone present felt that breathing became difficult and a bit suffocating. The Navy and others frowned, feeling uneasy in their hearts. Gellinger is using all his strength. Everyone instinctively looked at Red Dog and saw his calm face. However, the Red Dog did not make a sound. Red Dog did not show any fear when he saw Xia En's face, but chose to believe in his son after being indifferent to his own confidence. At this moment it was Elder Satan who spoke up, "Commander, have you passed? It's just verification, and there's no need to distinguish between life and death. Why do you use all your strength? After all, he is also the son of the great General Red Dog, and he still needs to give face." After a pause, Elder Satan looked at Shane and said, "Shane, if you're not sure, you can say." After hearing this, Xia En smiled faintly and said, "That's it." Upon hearing this, the 5 old stars stopped saying anything. They had already given enough face. This is Xia En's own choice, and if he really dies, he can't blame anyone. On the side, Gellinger sneered in his heart, realizing that this little ghost was truly arrogant to the point of exaggeration. Anyway. Respect the fate of others. Gellinger stopped talking nonsense and accompanied him with a flickering red light in his eyes, shouting loudly. God's judgment. God's punishment. Gellinger's figure sprinted out, dragging out remnants at such a fast speed. At the same time, his figure was almost flying close to the ground, heading straight towards Shane. Black thunder intertwined on Gellinger's long sword, and the sword aura that had just permeated the hall began to rage. It was as if a fierce beast had suddenly discovered its prey and began to frantically hunt down the prey, Shane. Buzz, buzz. Gellinger's figure had already arrived at Shane, and the slash of his long sword made the air tremble wildly, emitting a mournful cry. This sword, carrying the aura of breaking through the sky, slashed towards Xia En. All the power poured out wildly on Shane. This made Xia En fall backwards and then hit the floor heavily. Bang! A loud roar echoed through the hall. The ground cracked, the main hall trembled, and a huge commotion spread throughout Maria. The Hall of Power. Gellinger's knife almost reduced the power gap to a state of semi-ruins. The sunlight shone through the huge cracks in the dome, casting dust all over the sky. In the gray and hazy sky, Gellinger looked at Shane, who was nowhere to be seen, and gave a faint smile. Then he looked at the Red Dog and said, "Sakaski, I'm sorry. I have already given your son a chance to choose." The faces of the Navy changed dramatically, especially the Red Dog, whose arms trembled slightly. "Has Shane died?" Across from the ruins. People like Wulaoxing don't have much experience. They expected such a result when Xia En still insisted on letting Gellinger strike with all his might. It can only be said that Sakaski's son is too arrogant and can't blame anyone. At this moment. At the central ruins, a sound of clattering rang out. Everyone present was taken aback, and then their eyes cast one after another. I saw Shane crawl out of a pile of ruins. While frantically patting the dust on his body, he said in fear, "It's so close, it's finally coming out." I almost thought I was going to suffocate under the rubble. The appearance of Xia En shocked everyone present. They thought Shane had been chopped to death by Gellinger, but they didn't expect this little ghost was able to withstand Gellinger's full force with a single blow. Elder Nashowling was extremely surprised. Under his round glasses, his pupils vibrate violently. As a strong swordsman, he naturally knows how strong Gellinger's swordsmanship is. This kid. His defense is too exaggerated, isn't it? Satan exclaimed in surprise. Have you noticed that this little ghost hasn't even used his dominance, said another elder. A sentence stirred up a stir in the hearts of the 5 elders. Star Elder. Just use your physical body to resist Gellinger's strongest blow. Absolute monster. On the Navy side. Although they knew that Shane's defense was strong, they did not expect it to be so strong. The Navy's gaze at Shane became even fiercer. Red Dog didn't have much thoughts, but when he saw that Shane was still alive, his heart was filled with joy. On sight, the most unacceptable fact is that of Gellinger. Watching Xia En not only not die, but also seem to have no harm at all. The most outrageous thing is that Xia En was not afraid of his own sword, but because he was almost suffocated by the ruins. This fact makes Gellinger doubt that life has come to life. How could it be? I have left indelible scars on the strongest man. My official. My strongest strike is actually unable to harm a little ghost at all. Gellinger looked at Shane as if he was looking at a monster. Xia En climbed up from the ruins and quickly said, "Commander, you should be more confident. You hurt me." As she spoke, Shane reached out and grabbed the long knife in Gellinger's hand. Using Zheng Liang's blade to shine on his neck, he could vaguely see a bloodstain on his neck, which was a wound scraped by Gellinger's long knife. Xia En nodded immediately and said with an approving expression, "Commander, your knife is really powerful. These scratches are really long." Everyone fell silent upon hearing this. 5 old stars, everyone in the Navy looked at each other and looked at each other. Does this little ghost know that this is not praise, but rather disgusting? What was the impact of Gellinger's full force blow, which only caused a scratch on his neck? Maybe he will become Gellinger's demon as expected. After hearing this, Gellinger looked furious and said, "Kid. Are you humiliating me? Continue. I'm going to kill you again." Gellinger felt a sense of unwillingness, dissatisfaction, and anger in his heart. He wants to slay Xia En again. At this moment, the 5 old stars behind opened their mouths. "Commander, calm down." Elder Satan suppressed his shock and comforted him. "Xia En's verification has passed and he is about to become our capable subordinate. Don't make things difficult for him anymore." Other elders also persuaded Gellinger one after another. Seeing the 5 old stars speak up, Gellinger could only snort coldly and sat back in his seat with a look of unwillingness. The elders of the 5 elders also ignored Gellinger and looked at Xia En one after another. Their profound and weathered eyes were filled with wonder. "After living for so long, I have seen many geniuses, but this is the first time I have seen such a demonic genius. He joined the Navy, and the world government would definitely add wings like a tiger. The most crucial thing is that this kid is still the son of Red Dog, and his background is definitely not a problem." Just as the thoughts of the 5 elders were swirling, Xia En said to them, "Elders, since the verification has been completed, can I be appointed as a naval general now?" Ha ha ha. Elder Wally smiled kindly, completely devoid of the initial posture of a superior. Xia En, naturally there is no problem. Although we still need to draft documents and issue public announcements afterwards. And other processes. But now in the eyes of us old folks, you are the fourth largest general in the Navy. Elder Satan also smiled approachably and said, code name. Black Dragon. You are the strongest creature belonging to our world government. As the words fell, a systematic voice rang out in Shane's mind. Congratulations to the host for completing the task. Unlock a new attribute in the Super Template. Superpower. Chapter 8. Amazing the Sea. The fourth largest general. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Xia En listened carefully and fully understood the gains this time. Obtained a new attribute of Superpower in the Super Template. The level is Beginner. Previously, Xia En had no concept of attribute level classification, but after today's verification, he has a certain evaluation in his heart. The top level definitely reaches the level of the four emperors. Based on this, the junior level is probably at the level of a major general, with a high probability of reaching the level of a top major general, which is equivalent to the level of a quasi-general. Looking at the entire sea, it can be considered quite strong. Xia En was originally satisfied with this, but after seeing the way to enhance his superpower, he was immediately filled with disappointment in his heart. Superpower Enhancement Method. It requires absorbing and plundering other people's armed aura to enhance. The extent of improvement depends on the strength of the armed color dominance that absorbs the plundering target. For Xia En, who only wants to make a salted fish, this way of promotion is too unfriendly. It's okay. If it goes well, then improve it, if it doesn't go well, then don't force it. The beginner's superpower is not weak anymore, so don't go back and forth on your own. With a smile on his face during the Warring States period on the side, as he had anticipated, the 5 old stars would definitely promote Xia En to become the 4th highest general after seeing his strength. Red Dog rarely wears a straight face and feels proud of his son becoming a general. The yellow ape let out a yo and said, in the future, this kid will be on the same level as us. The green pheasant scratched its head, feeling quite emotional. Kapu, on the other hand, looked regretful. As Sean became a general, he could not accept Sean as his disciple. The purpose of the Navy's meeting was completed, and everyone did not stay in Maricho, Asia Pacific for long. They quickly set off to return to Marinfando. Because the documents have not been issued yet, the news that Shane has become the 4th largest general is currently only known to senior naval officials. Xia En thinks it is likely to take a few days for the document to be issued and an announcement to be made to the public. Xia En didn't care about this at all. The task has been completed and new attributes have been unlocked. It doesn't matter if this general is not used properly. However, Xia En underestimated the importance that the world government attached to this event, and the second astronomical book was issued, and the Navy also issued an announcement to the public. Xia En made an exception and became the 4th general, codenamed Black Dragon. As soon as the Navy announcement is issued, the sea shakes. Various forces around the world have been shocked. Has the system of the 3 great generals of the Navy been broken? What is the origin of the Black Dragon General? Surprisingly, he was promoted to the 4th highest general on an exceptional basis. White Soil Continent, a secret stronghold of the Revolutionary Army. After learning of the announcement issued by the Navy to the outside world, the Revolutionary Army immediately convened an emergency meeting to comprehensively investigate all intelligence of the 4th general. Background. Origin. Strength. And what achievements have been made in the past. However, as soon as the intelligence from the investigation was released, the corps and senior officials of the Revolutionary Army were all dumbfounded. Sabo looked surprised and said to Long, "Commander, is the Navy playing? The Black Dragon General is actually a teenager." The dragon fell silent, with a bewildered expression on its face on the side of Wang Xia's 7 martial Cs, everyone was also surprised by the sudden emergence of a new general in the Navy. Dressrosa. Doflamenco sat on the crimson armchair, looking at the intelligence in his hand, his veins wriggling wildly on his forehead. Xia En. Red Dog's talent is too terrifying, isn't it? The Navy has made an exception by giving birth to the 4th Grand General, which may have an impact on the 7 Armed Sea System. New World, on some island. Ben Beckman spat out his throat and looked at his red hair, saying, "Shanks, what do you think of the 4th highest promoted general in the Navy? I heard that this new general is only 16 years old." Jesus spoke of the information he knew. Lucky Lou, who was chubby on the side, didn't pay much attention and took a big bite of the chicken leg in his hand. However, he immediately coughed violently and was choked. After coughing, Lucky Lou was surprised and said, "What? Only 16 years old? Are you sure you didn't purchase fake intelligence that doesn't enter the market?" Hee hee. Red-haired chuckled lightly, "It's indeed true. And he's also the son of Red Dog. Damn it. I used to think that with a bounty of 90 million Bailey, I was already considered a super newcomer." Rock said with a toothache. "I didn't expect the Navy to come up with a more ruthless one than me. Unfortunately, it's still the son of this iron-blooded tough guy, Red Dog. It's not a bad thing." Red-haired, on the other hand, didn't pay much attention and said, "After all, this is a little ghost. Besides, isn't this more interesting? Universal Cake Island." In the Candy Hall, the retainers of the anti-pirate squad exclaimed in surprise. The defense of the new naval general, Black Dragon, is too outrageous. Surprisingly, it was able to withstand the joint attack of the 2 generals, Red Dog and Yellow Ape, along with the hero, Capp, without any damage. It's like a mother's steel balloon. In fact, many retainers feel that the new general's achievements have surpassed their own mothers. But you can't say it in front of your own mother, it will anger her. On the throne of the head, Ent's cold laughter rang out. She said in a sharp voice, "Join hands and fart." That was just an exaggerated announcement fabricated by the Navy to create momentum for the new general. Do you really believe it? Ant looked contemptuous. The real fact is that the 3 guys, Red Dog, Yellow Ape, and Capp, take turns hitting each other, but haven't used their full strength yet. At this level, I can withstand hundreds of times, numbness. Kingdom of Harmony, Ghost Island. In the main hall, Kaido laughed uncontrollably and said, "Does the Navy feel a bit weak in controlling the sea? So eager to promote a great general to stabilize people's hearts." Black Dragon. Kaido muttered the code name of Shane. "This code name makes me very unhappy. Kaido, should I find a chance to teach this new general a lesson? He dares to call himself a dragon. Jack looked angry. For Xia En, this new general, he is not afraid at all. Not to mention Xia En, this new general, even the strongest General Red Dog is not afraid. Encounter, he dares to go by boat too. There is only one dragon in this world, brother Kaido." Kaido chuckled and waved his hand, "Jack, just focus your attention on the upcoming artificial demon fruit trade. That black dragon, I'll find a chance to meet him for a while. Jean and Quinn exchanged a glance, both knowing what Kaido might be doing. I estimate that when Kaido feels bored, he will go find Black Dragon in big trouble. Chapter 9 New Task. Trading Demons on the Baituan Territory. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. On the vast sea, the Mobidi sailed on it like a giant beluga whale. The Whitebeard pirates also learned about the news of the 4th General, Black Dragon. After the initial accident, the White team did not take it to heart. Waha! Joes raised his fist and laughed. I can also achieve the level of a black dragon general. Thief, haha, Captain Jors, you already have the strength of a general, Blackbeard praised. Joes, do you want to join the army now and play as the 5th general? Ace joked with a smile. As the strongest pirate group of our time, they possess the strongest arrogance. I don't care at all about the 4th largest general selected by the Navy through special circumstances. Amidst the laughter and cheers of the crowd, Saki quickly squeezed through the crowd and arrived in front of Whitebeard. Whitebeard noticed Saki approaching quickly and raised his eyebrows, asking, Saki, what's wrong? Saki's face was filled with joy and he said, Dad, I have received intelligence about a demon fruit in the hands of a pirate group. I plan to have someone come with me to seize that demon fruit. Whitebeard raised his eyebrows. He understood why Saki was so eager just now. Saki is very interested in the ability of devil fruit and looks forward to one day obtaining a devil fruit as well. Now that a demonic fruit has finally been discovered, Saki is naturally eager and excited. For Saki's request, Whitebeard naturally wouldn't mind. He didn't even ask which pirate group it was, so he scanned the surroundings and said, Children, Saki has discovered a demonic fruit. Who among you wants to go with Saki to seize it? Without waiting for others to respond, Ace immediately stepped forward. He volunteered and said, Dad, Marco is not here. Let me lead the 2nd team to work with Sachai's 4th team together. Let me go. Jors also volunteered. I haven't moved my shins for a long time, I feel like I'm going to mold. Not only Jaws, but also other team captains have applied to wait for him to go together. Whitebeard looked at his crew actively helping each other, feeling incredibly warm in his heart. This is what he has been pursuing all his life, right? Family. Whitebeard emits a unique laugh. Kohahaha. It's just a big pirate, there's no need for so many people to go. After thinking for a moment, Whitebeard made a decision and said, let Ace lead the 2nd team together. Whitebeard plans to give Ace more experience. I don't know how long I can sustain my old illness now. Ace didn't know what Whitebeard was thinking, and was immediately overjoyed when he heard his father ask him to act. He immediately greeted Saki and said, Saki, you have been hoping to get the devil's fruit for many years. I'll help you fulfill this wish this time. Saki chuckled lightly and said, Ace, whether or not I can get it in the end, I will make your favorite food for you when I come back. Ace immediately had a greedy expression on his face and urged Saki to set off quickly. Amidst the laughter and conversation of the crowd, Ace and Sachai led their own team to set off together. The expression on Blackbeard's face within the team did not show any abnormalities, but his heart was filled with a gloomy smile. I don't know what kind of demon fruit it is. Hope is the demonic fruit that I have been waiting for years. Naval Headquarters, Marshall's Mansion. During the Warring States period, he lowered his head and continued to review the materials on the table, while the Crane and Peach Rabbit were leisurely drinking tea, forming a sharp contrast. At this moment, the ears of the Warring States period moved and a yawn sounded at the door. During the Warring States period, he immediately looked up, and the Crane and Peach Rabbit on the side also looked up. I saw Shane walking in while yawning. Ha! Xia En, you've come to calculate. The Warring States stopped working and shouted. Xia En approached and nodded with a nod from the Crane, Peach Rabbit, and others, as a sign of greeting. Then he sat down on the chair and looked at the Warring States inquiry, asking, Marshal, what is the purpose of your summoning me for this time? It's like this. The Warring States period expression turned positive. I need you to go and trade a demon fruit with a great pirate. Great pirate. Xia En raised his eyebrows and looked at the Warring States period. The Warring States nodded and explained, it was the line pulled by Kapu, it has been many years. That guy even helped Capp win World Destroyer Bondi back then. Shane nodded slightly, but he knew Bondi, who was a character from the theatrical version, Momo Fruit ability. At the current timeline, this guy is still frozen in the 6th floor of the underwater prison. Originally, this was Kappu's mission, but now Kappu is not at the Navy headquarters. Other generals have their own missions, and I believe you are also aware of this. Due to the special nature of the trading location and the urgency of the task, it requires the deployment of the general's combat power, so you, as a new general, need to step forward. After hearing these words, Xia En had a bad premonition in her heart. Is the transaction location special? Where is the trading location? The Warring States period informed Xia En of the location coordinates. The crane on the side estimated that Xia En probably didn't know where the coordinates were, so he put down his tea and added, "This is by whose territory? No wonder we need to mobilize our generals." Shane understood. Xia En's heart suddenly became full of unwillingness. The mission not only involves trading with the great pirates, but also takes place in the Whitebeard pirate squad. No matter which incident occurs, it is very troublesome. He just wants to make a salted fish quietly. How about resigning now? Anyway, I have the new attribute. Or find a reason to evade, and just as Sean was thinking about the reason, the sound of the system suddenly rang out in his mind. Task. Complete the mission entrusted by the Warring States period. After completion, you can receive system rewards upon hearing the task released by the system, Xia En's various reasons that had just come to a sudden halt in his mind. This Xia En felt both helpless and speechless in her heart. Why did she come to the task at this time? Anyway, since that's the case, let's go on this trip ourselves. Maybe the transaction went smoothly. So this mission can be considered a vacation. So Xia En changed his tone and said to the Warring States, "Marshal, let me handle this task." During the Warring States period, Xia En took on the task and nodded. On the side, he took a sip of tea and then spoke in an elder's tone, warning, "Xia En, your strength and talent are therefore strong, but you must be careful and cautious in everything." Although that great pirate had been cooperating with Capp privately for many years, he still had to be on guard at all times, and if he couldn't guarantee it, that guy would suddenly turn against him. Once the transaction is successfully completed, immediately set off and return to the Navy headquarters, without deliberately provoking the Fourth Emperor. Deliberately provoke the Fourth Emperor. Don't tease me, Granny Crane. I wish nothing had happened along the way, and I could complete the task on my own as a vacation. However, Crane treated him well, also out of concern for his younger generation. Xia En still gave him enough face, pretended to listen carefully, and occasionally nodded. After giving his advice, he finally said, "This is your first time carrying out a mission, Xia En. Let Baituan go with you." Baituan. Xia En didn't realize who it was and looked at the crane in confusion. The crane's expression hesitated slightly, and then he coughed and said, "It's the Peach Rabbit General next to me." Tao too didn't mind Xia En not knowing him, and smiled, "You're a newcomer, so I'll forgive you. But next time if you dare to forget, sister won't let you go." Peach Rabbit joked, even raising his fist. "Sister, pay attention to your posture." "Shane is a great general," said the crane as he glanced at the Peach Rabbit, "but it's just a lieutenant general." After hearing this, Peach Rabbit pursed its lips and muttered silently, "But my mother, I am old and experienced." He looked at Xia En and said, "Xia En, Baituan's personality is just like that. I hope you don't feel offended. Many people in the military have been scolded by her before." The crane mentioned high-level animals such as Kappu, yellow ape, green pheasant, and even red dog. Xia En gave a faint smile and waved his hand, indicating that he would not rest assured. Peach rabbits are so unconstrained that the journey is interesting. Otherwise, a rigid subordinate would follow along and I would probably be bored to death on the ship. Xia En naturally agreed to let Peach Rabbit move forward together. Going to the New World is not just a problem for pirates, but there may also be various maritime troubles along the way. Peach Rabbit has been in the military for many years and has rich experience. With her presence, she can fish all the way. Why not do it? Chapter 10. Everyone is amazed. The special appearance of Black Dragon. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The next day, on a border island in Whitebeard's territory, a group of pirates gathered on the coast, gazing out at the sea. One of the pirates couldn't help but say, "Captain Charlie, why hasn't the Navy come yet?" Charlie, who had a brown beard on his side, did not answer, but the first mate beside him smiled and said, "Once you stay on the ship for a long time, you'll get used to it. That guy Kapu has never been on time." After speaking, the first mate looked at Captain Charlie and said, "Boss, I heard that the recently promoted Black Dragon General in the Navy is a little devil who hasn't even grown hair. What do you think of this Black Dragon General?" Charlie was burly, and upon hearing this, he looked down at his first mate and chuckled softly, saying, "If you knew who the father of this new general was, you would probably have a certain idea in your own heart. The chief officer is curious." Charlie sneered, "His father is a red dog." Upon hearing that it was Red Dog, the first mate appeared bewildered and said, "Boss, do you think that little ghost was able to serve as the new general because of Red Dog?" "It's not what I think. It's just the fact," Charlie said confidently. He lifted his waist and said with an expression that he had already seen through, "Think about it, who is the strongest among the 3 generals today? Who has fought the most against pirates? And who is the most proactive? Red Dog." Charlie nodded and said, "That's right. Besides, Red Dog won't say it for now. Yellow Ape, how much force do these 2 of you dare to use to attack Red Dog's son?" "Oh, I understand, boss." The first mate suddenly realized. The other crew members also showed a sudden expression, which means that the Black Dragon General is actually just a name without much value. At this moment, a trembling exclamation from the lookout hand suddenly came from the coast. "Cha, Captain Charlie. The Whitebeard pirates are approaching us." Upon hearing about the Whitebeard pirates, Charlie's pirates immediately became a riot. "Captain, what should we do now?" Charlie's face kept changing. Although it was urgent, he was still a great pirate and could maintain his composure. He immediately shouted and ordered, "Return to the ship immediately and set sail." Under the command, all members immediately turned to their own pirate ship. But within a few seconds, a heatwave swept over, accompanied by a low shout. "Fire fist!" The raging flames turned into a wall of fire about 10 meters high, blocking the path of the Charlie pirates. At the same time, Ace's figure fell and he lifted his hat with one index finger, revealing his smile. Breaking into someone else's territory without authorization and wanting to leave directly. Isn't this good? Under the reflection of the firelight, there were expressions of astonishment on the faces of the Charlie pirates. Charlie, the leader, looked at Ace, while Yu Guang looked at the other members of the Whitebeard pirates who had already docked and landed. Ace, sassy. 2 team captains. Charlie's face became increasingly ugly, and now he's in big trouble. However, as a great pirate, Charlie was not someone who easily accepted his fate. He immediately shouted and cheered the soldiers, "Everyone. It's just 2 teams, we joined forces to kill them. Let our Charlie pirates' reputation shake this ocean once again." With Charlie taking the lead in killing Ace, both sides quickly engaged in battle. However, as both sides made contact, a few members of the Charlie pirates were killed on their side. Although Charlie is a great pirate, the core of the entire team's combat power lies solely with him as the captain. In less than half an hour, amidst the clash of weapons and gunfire, the Charlie pirates suffered heavy losses. Charlie looked at the fallen subordinates and screamed wildly. However, faced with the joint efforts of the 2 captain-level powerhouses, Ace and Satch, no matter how angry he was, he still retreated step by step. Ace's fiery punch made Charlie bow into a shrimp and spew out blood from his mouth. "Damn!" Charlie gritted his teeth, blood flowing from between his teeth and dripping onto the ground. The white-bearded pirates really live up to their reputation. Ace and Sachai didn't give Charlie a chance to catch his breath at all, with a fire punch and another kicking technique attacking him again. Flames are like beasts, kicking skills are like sharp blades. Charlie wanted to dodge on his side, but as soon as he exerted force, he suddenly vomited and spat out blood from his mouth. He suddenly had a thump in his heart and exclaimed, "It's over." At this moment, Charlie's mood was extremely complex. Damn it, Capp. If it weren't late, how could the transaction have been completed so early? Charlie had various thoughts, including unwillingness and anger, but in the end, he was about to face the despair of death. I'm afraid there won't be any Charlie pirates in the sea after today. At this moment, a gunshot swept through the mid-air of the battlefield. Many people instinctively look for voices, including Ace and others. Immediately, everyone saw a shell passing through the air, and most importantly, there was still a person standing on top of the shell. Everyone present felt surprised. What was the situation? Without waiting for a reaction, the shell landed not far in front of Charlie with the person. The shell suddenly exploded, and at the same time, Ace's flames and Sazzy's kicking skills came one after another. In an instant, the flames surged into the sky, and the kicking skills tore open the earth, turning the surrounding area into ruins. That person just now was a Navy, right? I saw the military uniform. This way of rescuing the scene. It's a bit special. Where is the rescue scene? It's clear that it's just about dying, okay. I guess it's already a blow. In the crowd, Blackbeard only found it funny. Even if he didn't die, he was bombed by shells, and he also suffered from the attacks of Captain Ace and Captain Satch. He was mostly useless, but the next second, Blackbeard's pupils widened slightly. Many people around exclaimed in surprise. Damn it! That person didn't die. He even walked out on his own. Didn't you get hurt? In the flames, Xia En walked out without any injuries except for his tattered clothes. Upon seeing this scene, Ace, Sachai, and Blackbeard were all extremely surprised. Hello. This Navy is resisting our joint attack without any injuries. Ace was somewhat incredulous. Is the other party still a little ghost? Saki was also surprised. Isn't this little ghost's defense too high? On Blackbeard's side, his spirit flashed. Little ghost. Is it the new general, the Black Dragon General? Ahead. Shane ignored the surroundings and walked straight towards Charlie. Charlie was surprised to see the little ghost walking towards him. Under the fierce attack just now, I really wasn't injured. Not even skin injuries. Are you the Black Dragon General? Charlie asked tentatively. Xia En nodded and casually, You are really a Black Dragon General. Not only Charlie, but also Ace, Saki and other members of the White Army on the other side have confirmed that this little ghost is the new naval general.